So who were John's peers in the first century? His closest peers were the other apostles. He was one of the 12. He was a specially chosen apostle. His job was to gather together the other anointed who would become chosen Christians during the first century. And so it's significant that there were 12 leaders during the first century, 12 apostles or leaders who had this immense responsibility. And so these 12 are very significant people. However, John is not writing this book for people living in the first century. Who is he writing this book for? That's explained in another verse at the start of the book of Revelation. So I should read that verse to you, and you'll understand the time period that John is writing about here and who his real audience is, because he's not writing so that his 12 contemporary apostles understand this. He's writing this book of Revelation so that we will understand it. So here's the scripture. It's in Revelation chapter 1 and in verse 10. Here John says, "By inspiration I came to be in the Lord's day. And I heard behind me a strong voice like that of a trumpet." So what's John saying here? He's saying that he came to see the things that would happen in the Lord's day. What is the Lord's day? That is when Jesus Christ actually starts to reign on the earth. The day that he really does become king, and that everyone will see it. And so John is not writing about first century, 100th century, 1200, 1500s. He's writing about the last days, the conclusion of the system of things, when Jesus Christ will actually arrive. So will the Apostle John have peers during the Lord's day, or the end of the world, the final part of the days, the conclusion of the system of things? Yes, I believe he will. There will be 12 very significant people walking on the surface of this planet, and I'm convinced they're here right now. What convinces me is the scripture in Genesis chapter 49. This is Jacob speaking to his sons. I'll read it to you. It's Genesis 49 and verse 1. "Later on, Jacob called his sons and said, 'Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you what will happen to you in the final part of the days.'" Who were Jacob's sons? They were the 12 leaders of the tribes of Israel. And so in the final part of the days, there will also be 12 very significant men who have an extraordinary opportunity. They could, if they wanted to, become John's peers. They could become rulers of the entire earth. They will have an immense responsibility. The book of Revelation is written specifically for these 12 men. These 12 men will be rulers again of the 12 tribes of Israel, God's people. And further on in the book of Revelation, chapter 14, it talks about 12,000 from each of the tribes of Israel. And the total number are 144,000. 12 of these will be significant. They will have the responsibility, once again, to lead each one of these tribes. So, reading the 49th chapter of the book of Genesis is something very important for a person to do who wants to understand the mysteries of the book of Revelation. Why? Because Jacob explained how each one of these leaders would be blessed during the final part of the days. And if you take the time to read the entire chapter, you'll see that only 2 actually receive an extraordinary, amazing blessing. The remaining 10 have a very mundane prospect during the final part of the days. And so the book of Revelation is a warning for them. It's written so that they have an opportunity to receive this blessing. Unfortunately, if you believe the book of Genesis, only 2 of them will actually attain this blessing. And so it's very important for these men to understand the book of Revelation. So now, does that make you want to read the book again? It should. If you believe you are one of the 12 men, it's very important that you read and understand the mysteries in the book of Revelation, but not just the 12 men. There are 144,000 chosen ones mentioned in the book of Revelation. Each one of these men need to understand the mysteries in order to attain their own blessing. And I'll speak more about the blessings later and explain who these 144,000 men are, because they are a significant part of the audience that John is also addressing. So it's not just the 12 men, it's the entire 144,000 who will be chosen, taken from the earth to rule as kings over the earth. You can be certain that many of these kings will be deceived by Satan, and the book of Revelation confirms this. And this is why it's necessary for these people specifically to understand the book, because if they don't understand it, they could be misled by Satan. And in fact, I'll show you that in fact they have been. And these are the same people who will weep and gnash their teeth. This is the scripture in Matthew chapter 24, and also in Revelation it shows that there will be a judgment hour where these men who don't properly understand how they've been misled by Satan will in fact be brought to shame. They will weep and gnash their teeth. And so I'll speak further about these potential kings and the message for them in the book of Revelation. If you're not one of these 12 men or one of the chosen 144,000, it's still very important that you understand the book of Revelation. Why? Because it's possible that you might receive the mark of the wild beast, the number 666, and have this mark on your forehead or hand. The book of Revelation infers that some of these kings will indeed receive the mark of the wild beast. However, it's also possible that any person living in the world can get this mark. Now, I've made other videos which are in my YouTube channel or on Google Video, or you can find them in my blog or read about them in my book. And if you want to understand how the number 666 is calculated, or how the mark is received on your forehead or hand, I explain it in those videos.